Okay.
I sure
All right.
can.
Well, this one doesn't want to participate today, so he's going to have the day off. That's fine. We all need a day off sometimes.
That we do.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm loving the fall so far. It's really that natural reminder of change that I love so much. I love change. I some people just don't, and I'm like, I love change. So I'm just loving the fall. Like the leaves are falling. It's getting crispy cold. Brought out Halloween decorations, which is like two things, but but yeah, how about you?
That's interesting. Did you always love change, or is that something that you learned to embrace and
Uh,
and
um,
love?
so here's the thing. No, I didn't. It was really on and off and on and off like throughout my life. And then once I settled down and like became a very, maybe by societal standards, very functional member of society. I was like doing a 9 to 5 job. I was buying a house. I was doing all of those things that I was trying to meet some level of like an ideal societal member, right? And when I got
Mhm.
into that space, I did not like change at all. Like it was such a comfort zone. And and I had a really hard time getting out of it. And I that's one of the things I think we do is the universe will give us all these signs of like, you need to go over here, you need to do this, you need to be doing something else. And I was just like, no, no, no. And it's funny that you asked that because I had avoided it so much that my life was just like it deteriorated because I held on to everything for so long. So like such a tight grip. And
Right.
now yeah, and I like I rebuilt my life from that, and now I'm like I love change, and there are times in my life where I absolutely have, especially when I was younger, and I love to explore and I love to see the world and I love to be in like different spaces and experience the energy of those spaces. But now I'm like change is I get stagnated now the opposite happens if I'm too like settled without something not being shaken up, but without being a season happening, right? Then
Hmm.
I start to feel claustrophobic and like suffocating. So now I'm like I think we are like nature, right? We're meant to grow and all those things. And when we get into those comfort zones, they're really comfortable, but life doesn't happen there. It happens in the change of things, right?
It very much does. That's very true. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So now I love it. I'm always looking at myself in the way of like, because I am a free spirit, right? So I'm like, I could just be anywhere in the world, but I know that I also need grounding. And Robert's really good for me in that way. Um, because he helps me see that like I can do both. I can be a free spirit and stay in one space and embrace change and encourage change and still love change, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah. How about you?
For change.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Um, let's see. I think as a young child, there were I was in a very tight box, and so that made me afraid of change. And so I would get in these, and I would hang on to things, you know. And I've had experiences in my life where the universe has had to step in and say, no, this change has to happen. There's just no avoid. I would avoid change at all costs. I would hang on to things till the very last second that I could, if it was for an emotional reason or a stability or a yeah, I feared the unknown. I feared that change because that was the box that I was in. And then I was that was completely reversed. Um, and I see the need to have that that comfort space. I do, but at this point, um, like when I moved here, I was so happy when I moved here. It was such a wonderful change. And then I thought, I have to have a purpose and a direction. I have to call change in. Something has to change. And because that constricted feeling that you were describing, that gets, as time has gone on, it just gets more intense. So I welcome change now because it's never a bad change. It's always a good change.
Yeah.
And it might take a moment for me to acclimatize myself to it, but I will never look back and say, I regret making that large change. I've never done that. So now I view it as not a bad omen or an enemy coming to try to knock me out of my little comfort nest.
That's
So
good.
I really looked at it that way. At one point, at points in my life, and that could also be, I knew the change that had to be made was so big, and but now, even if it's a large change that has to be made or something, it's very welcoming. It's exciting actually because
Yeah, because
it's
it's
going to be
new.
so different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
unknown, it's new.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
thinking
so
the other day, like, I've never looked back and been like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Because I think what happens is we get better at reading the nudges, right? Like when we were in that comfort
yes.
zone, like life was just kept knocking us over and we're like, nope, get back up, get back on the horse, you know?
Yeah.
But I really did have a fear after I went through that. I had a fear of the unknown too. I was like terrified of it. And then I heard someone say, just fall in love with it, just fall in love with the unknown. And then I was like, that sounds amazing. And then I was like, how can I do that without being scared? And then that's, you develop trust, and which we're going to talk about a little bit today. But then I said, then now I'm like, the unknown is my new comfort zone, right? That is the new space because there's so much possibility there. Where when we're in our comfort zone, it's just the same thing, right? There's nothing new that's going to come up, but the unknown is like full of endless possibilities. So,
Yeah, and like I get bored now. I go, oh,
yeah,
I got it so nice and cushy and comfy so quick. Ah,
yeah,
something
yeah,
something because we get good at that too. We know what our comforts are, and so we get very good at placing all those things around us.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but we need a little bit, we just have to have balance with that.
Yeah, and we are. I'm a firm believer that we are where we're meant to be, and there's something showing us. Um, there's some there's something that we're learning in every moment, whether it's the unknown, the comfort zone, the perfect comfort zone where we're in the unknown all the time, right? Like there's always something that we're meant to see in that moment that helps us in the advancement or evolution of the next moment, right? So,
Does and I see change now as, oh, I'm growing. Yay. I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
moving. So it's a good sign. It's always a good sign when change comes now.
Yeah, could you imagine if like the tree or the branches never reached anywhere else? They just stayed the same, right? So, but no, they continue to reach up towards the light. So, um, yeah, it's a sign. The change is a sign of growth for sure. For sure. Well, it's probably just me and you today because it's 10:12, so that's good. I wanted to talk about and I don't know if you're going to be able to relate to this or not, but I know that some people in the group can, and they can always check out this recording if it's something that they struggle with. But there was a time, well, one of the things that I tell people to do is like create your vision for your life, because when we can create our vision for our lives, we can align with all of the action steps to move closer to that possibility, but also to allow in an open way without holding on to anything too tightly the greater possibility that's actually there. Because what we can think up with our mind, the small human mind, is actually the lowest of the action of the possibilities available to us. But we need to start using our visualization skills in order to create the reality that we want, because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real or fake. Like it just doesn't know. And so when we are visualizing this future for ourselves, the lifestyle that we want, the house we want to live in, maybe it's material things, maybe it's just a place, maybe it's a person we want to be with, whatever it is. I really encourage people to have this vision, because without it, your subconscious mind isn't going, or your guidance even isn't going to be able to match that frequency and say, oh, go here, oh, go here. With that in mind, there's always another greater, what we want is rarely what we think we want, if that makes sense. Like I've had an experience of thinking that I've wanted something, and like thank goodness it didn't work out. So we have to allow, we take the steps, we take the motions, but we have to allow our guidance to just, to trust our guidance that it's sending us in the right spot. But there was a time in my life where I was so focused on what I wanted. And I'm like, yeah, this is the vision that I have. This is the dream that I have. And I was consistently taking action. And I was consistently frustrated because the actions weren't giving me the results that were aligned with the vision. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why is life asking me to suffer? Like, why is life asking me to fall short over and over? Why is life giving me something that I clearly don't want? I want something else, right? And so, what I realized is I was asking the wrong question. And the question that I needed to ask was a little different, but I first want to say that our vision is so important because it does guide us. It's like it's guiding us to our destiny, essentially, even if the vision isn't 100% correct, and even if it steers us a different way. But the question that I needed to ask was, what is life asking of me? And first I started this in like a business sense. I was like, oh, let me figure out, what is life asking of me? And I wanted to bring this up today because when I shifted the question, something in the holographic nature of our essence and our existence, something in mine changed. So I wanted to explore a little bit with you about what that means to you, you know, like on a personal level in your life experience, not like, hypothetical as the idea, but in Angelique's life. We know that we want things because desire is a natural part of the human experience, especially when it's an experience that we want to have or whatever. Like we could desire things, we can visualize, we know that none of the material stuff is really going to make us happy, but they can make our lives a little better in certain ways, and we won't have to worry about certain things. But in Angelique's life, if life was asking something of you, not just in a business sense, not just in a relationship sense, not just in a being present sense, like what does that feel like to you, or what does that mean to you, or what comes to your mind when you ask yourself that question?
The question being, what is life
Yeah,
asking out
yeah,
of
like,
me?
yeah, or what if life is asking something of you? What is the experience when you look at life through that lens? Um, we can say we're being called to do something, but when life is actually saying, this is what I'm asking of you, does that feel any different to you opposed to what we want to get out of life?
Um, Not really. because I get this. I'll explain why. So happiness is something that I have requested as an experience to have here. Um, and I get happiness out of doing what I was meant to do. It fills my heart with such joy when I'm able to help people in the way that I can. That truly makes me happy. And I've, I've observed this in myself by, um, you know, not engaging, not doing that kind of work for weeks or months, and seeing how it made me feel inside, and it like deflates me like a balloon. And then the minute I have an opportunity to help somebody in an energetic way, whatever that might be, I can and the universe is like, yes, yes, help this person. You have the ability to help them in that way. Show us that you um, can do this, or show us that you want to do this. And I'm so, it's like a whole new personality comes out. I'm so eager. I'm so excited. It fills me with a passion it's almost undescribable. And so that gives me such happiness doing what the universe wants me to do, what the universe is asking me to do. And that's a very blessed position to be in because I actually am aligned to the point where what the universe is asking me, it's not of me, is not pulling me out of any comfort. It puts me in my comfort zone. It puts me
Yes.
where I'm supposed to be. And and then I look back and go, wow, that's why you were feeling the way you were feeling those last few weeks because you didn't do this. Do you see, Angelique? This is all we're asking of you. And you're helping people. You're bringing you're allowing them to see something, or you're allowing them to be free to be happy themselves, and without whatever whatever work that I did on them. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect where I have aligned um, myself to what the universe is asking me to do, and it brings me such joy and happiness to do that. Which means anywhere I go, I'm doing what the universe asks me to do, I will be happy with it. I will be in alignment. I will be, um, and that's a very rare thing to be able to say. Um, so I don't take that for granted. What it took me to get there was having both faith and trust. And those are two different things. And I had to have faith that, yes, accomplishing those tasks or getting those things done or learning those things I will trust you that that will make me happy. And it did. And so, um, when I am guided to do something, I immediately do it because it's like I'm like an excited little kid. Ooh, 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 what's going to happen at the other end of this? It's so exciting. I know it's going to make me happy. And what makes me happy is when other people are happy around me. So it's like a explosion of that energy. It amplifies it. So, um, yeah, I got to that point by walking in faith and trust. And that's a difficult path to walk at times because you'll be asked to do things that to other people are completely what they will try to prevent you from doing that. They'll prevent you from taking that next step that you know you have to take because it's required of you because you have faith and trust that those are your instructions. Those aren't other people's instructions. No, it wouldn't
Yeah.
work out for somebody else. But it always has worked out for me because, and that took years and decades to develop that, walking in that faith and trust. Um, and every time I look back and go, okay, when Angelique decided, nope, there's a different way to do this that would cause less pain or less suffering or would ease pain and suffering because it would delay the change or whatever the case may be. Um, that was never the right decision. I may have been allowed to do that, but only to show myself, look, we've already got a situation set up for you. We have a blueprint drawn
Yeah.
out for you, and it's going to be so easy, Angelique. But if you feel the need,
Yeah, and it makes me think about how, I do a video where, and I tell everybody this, like it doesn't matter where you start, your life's work is going to align no matter what. And I felt that, that was a download that I got before I started teaching this stuff because this is just an example, but I couldn't decide on a niche. I didn't know where to start on a business, and it caused me so much internal chaos that I just chose. And the download that I got was like, it doesn't matter where you start because you're going to be going through like a process of elimination, but you're going to be picking up like gold pieces as you go through this path, and I'm bringing this up because there was an order to that chaos. There was an order to, and there's an order to all chaos, right? We think that everything is unorganized and that life is just by, chance, but really there is a divine order to everything. And I love your example of like, yeah, you can go do that because I do that to myself all the time. Sometimes I do things just to appease the ego. I'm like, but my intellect or my ego really wants to do this and make a plan, and then I'm like, and then my ego's like, yeah, I'm happy now, knowing I know that none of that, if any of it, is going to be, unfold that way. um but the other thing that you said, and the reason why I want to talk about this is because I do know people are struggling with this, and I know that this conversation will help them. But when we're focusing too much on the vision and what we want out of life, there's almost a vortex of energy that pulls me out of the present moment. And I don't want to say that it aligns me with like a space of greed, but it aligns me with like almost like I don't want to even say a masculine energy, but it almost like flips my energy center the opposite direction where I'm not as present as I could be. I'm not as trusting. I'm really just focused on my own achievements. And I'm just using this as like an example of some of what I went through, but also what I see others going through is like they're dreaming of this life, and that's part of the new age spiritual movement talks about, manifesting all of this stuff for yourself. But it's like, wait a minute, there's a whole nother presence here of life is asking something of us. And when we can align with that, and that's what I call prosperity, right? When we're aligning with that, or that's part of prosperity. Prosperity is a byproduct of that. Abundance is a byproduct of that. But there's also, I just want to go through a list with you so that we can share this and say, hey, when you are 100% aligned the with doing and being in the space of what life is asking of you, this is what that means versus what it doesn't mean, right? So some examples of what it doesn't mean is it doesn't mean fear, it doesn't mean worry, it doesn't mean frustration, it doesn't mean helplessness or hopelessness or victimhood, right? Those are the things it doesn't mean. So, what are some of the things, and you've already mentioned them, but what are some of the things that it does mean? I know you mentioned faith and trust, but what is that life experience like for you when you are in the space of that alignment and doing what life is asking of you?
that's a good question. Um, I've Wow, so much has happened since I've moved here. I've had the opportunity to reflect in hindsight and watch how this process came into being and watch each phase of it and why that phase was necessary in the order that it came in. Part of that feeling of being in alignment for me, there was a time, and it may have been in one of, I think, maybe two phone calls ago that I was on with you, where I said, and you can watch this progression happen in me because my energy is very different in each one of those phone calls. It, there was a point where I was just oozing, gratitude and happiness, and then I was just, then I had to be in this womb of, I think I called it at the time this womb of creation, and that was a fabulous alignment to be in at the time. This was a perfect environment to facilitate that. And when I have a day where it's just absolutely fantastic and everything falls into place down to the second, it's so beautiful how that happens. Um, I could have those days um, every day if I paid closer attention to the timing of things and just looked a little deeper and saw the overlay going on. Um, but you have no worrying is the biggest block I think people have because they're at that moment in time thinking of the negative implications of a potential step that you haven't taken yet, just threw all kinds of blocks, barriers, and blockades in front of you. So it's going to make it harder the next time you go up to that and try to go through that door. Um, there is no worry when you're in alignment. You could be you could be doing more work. Just for me personally, this particular time that we find ourselves in the present, I was told to rest because I had a lot of integrations that had to happen, and I allowed for that to happen. I didn't allow my ego to go in and go, oh, I want to run and check this store out, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Nope, I just sat still and allowed, and it was so. I was never bored. I have an infinite number of things I could entertain myself with, and but just allowing to be in alignment. That's the other thing. Once you get in alignment, you have to allow yourself to stay there. Don't get pulled out by things. And I'd watch that happen in me. I'd see something or somebody would pull me out of that space and I'd feel it energetically, like just like Velcro being pulled apart. It's like, no, I need to go back to that. But that was important for me to see in what ways um and how it affected me at that particular time. So I also saw, wow, there was a lot of work being done in the energetic fields during this alignment that I was in. I need to respect that. um, so it everything happens for a reason. Even distractions happen for a reason. Um,
Yeah.
but we have the choice to go, you know what? I'm busy at the moment. Being in alignment. And people aren't going to understand that word, and I don't use that word with people when I say something. But um, yeah, I treasure and guard that alignment ferociously at this point because I'm bringing in a lot of energy at the moment. And it's interesting because last night I was talking to Vicky and I said, I need to do that purge that we did the second or third week of class because I've had so much time to sit here and just be a vessel and just uh, get all these all this information in. And when I look at it, I see all the little pieces and I just need to do that purge thing again. So that's what I kind of started doing last night. But that's the point that I'm at right now, personally, at this exact moment with my alignment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I love I use the word alignment a lot, and actually I wish that I could define it in a way that makes sense to people because it is just a word to so many people. And it's,
Yeah, they don't understand the gravity of it.
no,
Yeah.
because I used to call it like centeredness in yoga. It's like there's this centeredness that when you feel it, you're there. But, in yoga, it's easy because there's nothing, you're working in a space where there's not a lot of life happening around you, right? But even in marketing, I say like alignment is the new strategy. When you're 100% aligned with stuff, we call it marketing. We have all these business terms, right? Business, relationship, or whatever, however we want to separate the wholeness of our life. There's always an alignment that in my experience, feels like a river flowing. And I love that you said, when you're not there it's like Velcro being pulled apart, is because so many people live in that Velcro right now. And they think that's normal. They're like, oh, Velcro here, split here, go to this. Like they're constantly sticking themselves, not realizing that they could leave the Velcro alone and just be done with it and come back in the space of alignment. And in that space, these are just some words that you used, which I 100% agree with. And in my experience, in addition to faith and trust, you used integration, where we're integrating like our energy, the data that we're downloading, the downloads that we're getting. Also, rest, because our energy system requires us to not only manage it effectively and efficiently, but respectively also. And to do that for ourselves, because nobody else will do that. Allowing the alignment. I love that you said allowance. Actually, I wrote that down right as you said it, which was pretty cool. Because it's like a space that we're not used to being in for most of our lives. And then all of a sudden we're like, this seems boring. This seems, so we have to get used to the stillness in that beautiful allowance of being in this limitless place, right? And then some of the words that I wrote down that I want to talk about a little bit is, when we do step into a space of like, this is what life is asking of me in my relationship, in my geographic location, in my business, and my friendships, and every whole of my life as a whole, or every area of my life as a whole. The want and the suffering dissipates, the worry dissipates. And what moves in is like, these are some of the questions that I asked myself that I recommend everybody kind of reflect upon, is that if life is asking something of me, if it is, even if we don't know what it is, because I know that I know kind of, right, what life is asking of me, but I keep taking actions. And that's one of the things I recommend. It's like, even if you don't know, you're going to feel it through your actions, like that energetic alignment that you speak of. But I asked myself, what if life is asking of me, then what makes sense and what doesn't make sense? And the worry and the fear and all the doubt and all that doesn't make sense. But the trust and the support were some of the things that I wrote down, because life isn't going to say, okay, go do this. This is what I'm asking of you, and not give us the resources, not give us the people, not give us the support, energetic, physical, um, every form of support that we need in order to fulfill what life is asking of us. We are getting 100% of the time. And even though I've like moved through like worry and like thinking that I'm not going to have the support, at the end of the day, I have always had the support. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that I want to talk about right now is how we are always supported, and what that feels like for you, right? What that feels like for all of us, since not only are we 100% supported all the time, but what does that feel like, right? Because I know what that feels like. That, to me, that feels like I don't have a worry in the world. Um, like I have everything that I need. Um, and I don't have any concerns. So what does that support feel like for you?
Um, I would have to say that for me, that support it's so encompassing. Um, I have no concerns. I have no worries. I have no fear. That's the biggest thing. Everybody that I see is stopped by a fear of theirs. There's a fear or causing a block in them. I don't have that issue because I know how fully supported I am in any decision that I make, even if I want to, um, which I won't do anymore, and go, oh, I'm going to try it this way. I still don't have fear in doing that. That's me just trying out a new tool, if you will. And so that's already written in the program. So I don't have to have fear about it. I'm not gonna, I have complete, um, yeah, complete trust that there's no decision that I can make that I have to have fear of repercussion of because it's so aligned anyway. And that's, you know, that had to come at, being tested. Are you going to be pulled off in this direction or that direction? So, um, because I um, am in that position, I know the support that I have out there, and I know the support that I could call in an instant. If I have an indecisive moment or I can ground myself, clear my space, and have that communion, if you will, with Source, and go, what is the decision that clear the smoke away, show me the correct decision, and I have no. And that's a unique position to be able to walk in this realm in, to not have fear and that's again, not fear of finance, not fear, because all my needs will always be met. They always have been. And I can look back at times where I, thought I was going through a difficult time. Even going through those difficult times, they were required because they were very character building, you know. And I still had I had all the support around me then that I have around me today. I was just being stubborn and not wanting to utilize it in the ways that it was being shown to me how to utilize. That those times were most likely the times where Angelique wanted to try and do it her way.
Yeah, that doesn't work. I'm right there with
Yeah,
you. Like the way that we and honestly, life does let us use our free will, right?
yeah,
Let me turn off this camera movement here again. Life does allow us to utilize our free will. And sometimes it's like, well, we want to go about it this way. And life is like, okay, your destiny is here. We don't care what route you take, right? Um, but it really sounds like, and I think this is going to help so many people because we have, for some reason, been conditioned to, and we can all imagine why. Why are we conditioned to go into worry and to fear and like, oh my gosh, I don't have medical insurance this month, or oh
right.
my gosh, I can't afford this, or oh my gosh, like, but we are always supported and we are just conditioned to have concern, and concern's not bad if you want to just look at it and be like, okay, I'm concerned. Doesn't mean we have to do anything about it, but one of my experiences is, this is just where I'm at right now, is I had life basically show me, I want you to teach other people about business and marketing. And like simultaneously, I had life show me, I want you to teach people about their spiritual nature and about who we are as energy. And I'm like, what? Like I have in my mind, I have these two different things in my hand. And working through that confusion, over time, I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? Like, this is very tangible and practical and step by step. And this is very step by step and impractical and esoteric. And how am I supposed to combine these two things? And I'm always asking myself this question. And when I think about it with my intellect or my ego, it goes sour and it doesn't make any sense. And I end up doing things that I just like let go. I'm like, whatever, that didn't work out. But when I just keep taking the actions, the vision that I see is like the vision that I see is like a chalkboard, right? And a piece of chalk. Or maybe you know how we used to color on the ground as kids with the chalk, the big giant
Hmm.
chalk.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like yeah, it's like one of either the ground is is business or spirituality, and the chalk is either business or spirituality, and the chalk is just grinding itself into it. And anytime that I try to make that happen with my intellect or my ego, it just stops. But every time that I'm just moving through the motions and I'm just teaching people what I know and I'm infusing my spirituality into whatever I'm doing, it just keeps grinding, right? And so my biggest lesson has been even if there's confusion, even if there's like, I don't know where this is going, even if there's like, I think this is what life is asking of me, but I'm going to go with the feeling of what I know life is asking of me, even if I can't make intellectual sense out of it, is to just trust the process, right? Like, the process is the point, but the process is also the experience, and the process is what builds us in every way that we can be built. And the process is also how we're serving people, right? As we are learning and serving our own expansion. Does that make what do you think? I know that makes sense to you, but what do you think when I just say like, you know, trust the process of it all? Like if we share this with people and we say, you know, trust the process of it all, what can you offer to kind of support that?
Wow. Um, that's a that's a simple statement that's said by many people, and to tell that to somebody who's going through that process, wow, at the moment you're saying it to them, and they're at that grinding phase where they're doing it, it's actually elemental magic that's happening at that moment. They're bringing down the idea, the concept out of the ether, and they're bringing it into the earth element, the physical world. And fire has to be used for that process. And because it has to destroy all the things that aren't necessary and will so that the new things can come in and be born out of that. So an alchemical process like that sounds very complicated, but it's also explaining the bridge that has to be built for people to understand that they are doing an very old ancient alchemy process, and it's difficult. It takes a minute. It has that grinding feeling because you are pulling out of the thought, the ether, and create and turning it into the physical. And the physical is like I see the physical in that process as being the business, because it is
Hmm.
the what you see, the tangible. Um, it's hard to illustrate these concepts to people because they are very but that's what they are. They're esoteric concepts. We live in an esoteric world. It's an old archaic phrase, but it's very true. We're working with energy because we are energy. So that process of expansion and growth is painful at times. Think of your cells as having being pumped full of electricity so that they can expand and grow. It's a push and a pull, a push and a pull, an ebb and a flow, an ebb and a flow. What you can take, and then you move forward from that point, your new set point. So it is. And I'll say it again. It's difficult to explain those esoteric and metaphysical concepts to people, but that's what's taking place. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And that's what I teach people too, because that I think I'm pretty sure that all of us have experienced being in the ether or the 5D realm, whatever we want to call that, for a long time and just having a grand old time. We're like, this is great. I don't want to go back. I don't want to do anything. I just want to stay here. And then we stay up there for a while, right? And we're like learning all these amazing things. I say up there because it is a higher vibration and we are not even grounded enough to pull anything down, but we're exploring all of these. I want to say esoteric ideas, but energetic facts. Essentially, we're like,
Yeah,
wow, this is how the world works. This is how the hologram of existence works. This is how energy works, and then eventually we wake up to this realization that like we're still here. Like, oh crap, like like I'm still physical, and I'm still in this world, and it's like. Um, it's kind of like you're at a water park and you've just been sitting in the relaxed pool for too long, but you've also been learning a lot of stuff while you're there. And then eventually they just like close it down and you're like walking around the park trying to find other stuff to do. So you decide to jump on the water slide over and over and over again, but you're like, oh, there's something to this, there's something for me to learn here, and there's something for me to bring forward. And I like to say that that's like the hero's journey, right? At the end it says you're the master of both worlds and you return with the elixir, and that's you're a master of the physical and you're a master of the formless, so the form and the formless. And now we get to return with the elixir, which is something that we learned or a combination of what we learned while we were there. And we're bringing it into humanity. So that is one thing that I teach is, just taking the formless and we're bringing it down through our chakra system and presenting it to humanity and say, here, this is what I learned, because I feel like that is what life is asking of us in a way. And it could be an array of different things. It could be data, it could be information, could be knowledge, it could be, a physical store, it could be courses online, it could be, it literally could be anything. And I think that, being in love and joy and excitement and like you said, when you're doing what makes you happy, it. And that's when you feel aligned. And I think there's a space for all of us there. But really, when it comes to like trusting the process of it all is allowing all of the, when I talk about the chalk and the ground, the chalk is being worn down and the ground is kind of absorbing what it can, but at the end of the day it's merging into one, and I picture like a blue or purple chalk just dusting over everything, and they're not separate anymore, right? Business and spirituality isn't separate anymore. But it has to go through the cheese grater, if that makes sense.
it does. And that speaks as to why we came here, why we have access to that 5D realm. Not everybody does. And so the elixir that we're bringing down is what's needed for people to have that access. And this is why it is so important that the merging of the business and the spiritual um, actually happen in the constructive way that you bring forth, because these gifts that we have, people look at people call it, they're not get everybody has this ability. We just came down here in our soul contract to show other people how to do this, to teach other people how to do these things in whatever way that we do that. Um, and it's a beautiful alchemical process that takes place when that happens. Um, it's alchemy is in everything, and that describes taking the inner alchemy that we have done to be able to access that, um, removing shadow to make us higher in light, higher in frequency. Um, but now we have to turn it outward, make it exoteric alchemy, so that we change that 3D around us. Um, and that's what we decided. to come down here as a collective of light workers to do. So that's in our all of our soul contracts. It's why we have that access, that key to that door. Other people don't. And that's why it's important for us to have that business to spread that to as many people as possible. So the two are very aligned. You have to have one with the other. Because we can't, you'll find as the higher your light gets, if you hoard it to yourself, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't. You have to share your light with people. You have to. That's why you
Yeah.
came here.
Yeah, I
So,
think that becomes really obvious at certain times during the hermit phase. I called it, Robert was with me when I went through a lot of that, and I called it my cave. I was like, can I just go back in the cave? I don't like it here. I don't like it out here. Can I just go back into the cave? And he's like, no, you can't, and I'm like, but I just, but I'd have fun. I'd sneak out of the cave and I'm like doing something, and it's just like the greatest time of my life. But then, like, 3 minutes into it, I'm like, I want to go back into the cave. Um, but it's like life is always kind of showing us these previews of like, this is what it's going to be like, when you're out back into the world. And I think eventually it does kind of like push you out, like your own light pushes you out of the cave. Um, and when I say cave, I'm really just meaning like that hermit phase where we're getting through so much stuff that we can't even really take on anything new external or even internal. We're just like at capacity, and we're just mending and shadow working and all that. Um, but like that does become, it's like I know how to deal with the hermit phase and the cave and the shadow, but when you put me out and all these other energies are, floating around, I don't know how to deal with that. So I just need to go back to what I know. But I do feel like eventually you're right, our own light, it's like there is no cave left because we got so bright. And I feel like um when I don't share my light, I feel like that dullness and that life like lights a fire under me. It's like, get on it, like this is like, you need people around you, all these things. I'm such an introvert, right? And um I've never seen myself as like as a being so required to be guiding and assisting and sharing my light. But life really does say, like, go out there and do it. It's like your parent throwing you under the water to teach you how to swim. You sit for too long and it's like, nope, go, 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 right? And I know you experienced that too, because you said when you're not doing it, it almost feels like our energy builds up. But when we're doing it, we're in flow, right? When we're helping
yeah,
and assisting and serving, when we're
yeah,
serving
it's like
others.
putting a little dam in the river. And the fun part, though, about being an introvert is, see, I'm both. I, I actually got in trouble when I worked at the state. What was I called? Social butterfly. Because I was so talkative and I was never at my desk. They even got me a special headset so they could see if there was the little button on the desk that had a light on it. Well, at least she's on her phone. She's working, doing something. But then I do go into my introvert phases. So I'm both an extrovert and an introvert. Um, but the energy that you draw from people changes when you become an introvert, like what your needs are as opposed to the crowd that you're in. And it gets overwhelming. So I understand the feeling of being in a place for like 3 minutes and go, okay, I've had enough. I've come, I've seen, I've I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah,
get back
yeah.
in the car and
I've done.
go.
Well, my introvert, I don't like using labels because I feel like there's probably a spectrum, but my introvertness, and I think part of this, which I like we're talking about this, is that I encourage everybody, especially those listening to this, to learn your energy system. Because when I say introvert, what I mean personally, and I'm curious, we'll see if this is the same. I absolutely love people and I'm a teacher by nature, meaning if you're Like if you're in my house because you're an Airbnb guest, I'm probably not going to talk to you because I just am going to leave you alone. But if you're in my house because you want to learn something, I'm probably just going to talk your ear off. Um, but my introvertness is that's how I get my energy back up. It's how I re-energize myself. And the way that I get my energy flowing is through creativity and serving. And so once my energy is like up, it's like, okay, I've been at home for a week by myself, not doing anything. I'll start to feel really uncomfortable and I need that energy to flow. And of course, I have creativity and yoga and, movement that helps that. But I really do get a joy out of assisting other people and guiding other people. Um, and so I could arguably say that I'm extroverted in that way because it helps my energy flow when I don't have any shyness of being on stage. I don't care about, I used to, trust me, I'm not saying this is like been forever who I am, but I could stand up in a room full of people and speak and I could probably look extroverted, but at the end of the day, when my energy needs to re up, it's a very alone process. But is yours the same? Because I really just want people to say, like, yeah, I'm introverted or extroverted, but really, let's look at each of our energy systems because I see people depleting their energy over chasing after what they want, not really noticing that life is asking them of something, and so they're hitting um, they're hitting overload, they're hitting burnout, they're hitting all of these things when their energy system is saying, "Hey, slow down." Right. So, what does that mean for you specifically?
Well, I
The
see a lot of
introvert
people.
extrovert kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't get my, um, let's see, a lot of people, they, as if they label themselves as an extrovert, they literally require that exterior energy um, to up their energy. Um, a person such as myself, I require that my own recharge time. I do. Um, but let's see. I lost that train of thought. I was looking at something.
Okay.
Um, but let's see. I see a lot of people losing a lot of their energy. That's the one thing I wanted to say because they're looking for that external recognition when what they should when they would save so much of that energy. Um, so being extroverted for some people, it takes a lot of their energy because they're constantly trying to get um, that flow back of that extreme. Oh, you're doing a good job. Oh, this you're right. You're supposed to be doing that. I don't do that. I go. That's when I go to my introverted side, and so I don't know. I guess I don't feed off of a crowd like some extroverted people do because I don't require their uh I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to use. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because
Does that
I
make
think
sense so
that
far?
I think no, it does. And I think that that's the main, if we were to label and say, this is, I'm really curious too, because I do know extroverted people and they do get their energy just from being around other people, not in like an energy vampire kind of way, just in
No,
like
not
a,
yeah.
yeah, their downtime is very
Yeah,
little and it's
yeah,
very it's they have downtime at certain times of the day to reflect and grow and do that, but other than that they get their energy from being around other people, and their downtime is just something a little different, but my downtime is like required and that's how I
yeah,
get my energy. So I think that's what I've learned is like, do you get your energy from being alone or do you get your energy
yeah.
from other people,
Oh,
and
from
or
being
does your
alone,
energy
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And does your energy flow from being like my energy flows from being around other people? But I think I'm guessing some people their energy flows from being alone. I think that we just all have that, but also
Well,
you
I
know?
know some people who are like I know some Gemini people, and Gemini is a very communicative sign. They need to be around people. They need to have people to talk to, or they will go limp like a flower that's not been watered. And now I'm very quiet, but I'm not shy at all. I'm not a shy person, but I'm very quiet. And so, and those are two very different things. And so, yeah, my energy is not. Um, I guess the what I build up in those moments of being alone in that introversion, it has to be released on the crowd, I guess. And it brings everybody's energy up, and it's a good way to release that energy, you know. So I have energy that I release on the crowd. Maybe that's a
Mhm.
weird kind of extrovert, but um,
But yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, we're at about time, so I just want to ask you, because you always give so much good, um, assistance. I know that you and I, we've been on this path for a long time, and I think we've both grown leaps and bounds just this year. Like I know we have. We've watched each other, I think, to some extent, and I remember our first calls in the beginning, and but it's pretty cool that we can both agree that life is asking us of something, and what we want or what we desire it is in a way guiding us to this life's work. But really, it makes so much more sense to trust the process and trust that life is asking us of something, and to reflect and say, you know, what does that mean for each of us specifically? Because you and I discussed that it means trust and support and guidance and integration and rest and alignment and allowing, and stillness and just being in that space of complete. It's like a warm bath, right?
It
It's
is,
really hard.
yeah,
It's really hard to explain in the words, but it is such a powerful, high vibrational place to be in, because dense energy can't live here. And I think that's why we don't have any worry. And that's why we don't have any fear. And that's why we don't have any concerns. Not that we can't experience those things. And it's probably not that we don't. But overall, when it's like, love is greater than fear, right? Trust is greater than concern. Like, I am primarily in a place of high vibrational energy. And I've been doing this for so long that when any worry does come up, it's just a thought. And that's like, that doesn't help me, I actually don't even experience fear anymore at all. But I can imagine if it did come up, I'd be like, that's not going to help me. Like, if it's not going to help me, I just dismiss it right away. And I think that that's something that we get better at as we travel the journey, right? But do you have any parting words just for anybody listening to this that's like, um, man, like, how can I be in more of this space of trust and allowance and guidance? What would you say to them?
so that's a good way to describe it. You can really only describe the feeling that it elicits in you. And for me, I think I've said to some people before, it's like God is holding his hands out and just cradling me in it. And you're right. The thoughts come in and you go, well, um, oh, I'll take care of that. And you know immediately how to take care of it. And it's not stressful. It's not a concern. It's not a worry. It's not asking too much. It's not asking you to get out of that lounge chair. And so it's a because you're supported and you know you're supported. And Um, so the decision that will come into your mind, the solution, you stop seeing problems as problems. You start seeing it as, oh, there's an opportunity for finding a unique solution, and there's always a solution. It just hasn't been revealed to you yet. So worrying, there is no worry, there is no fear. Um, you're where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and having that alone taken off of you as a um, because so many people that I've spoken to, there's like an underground current in them that it's like a little chaos current. I should be doing this. I need to be here. I need to be there. Nope, you're right where you need to be. You are. And it's like I think I've mentioned it before when someone told me you need to learn to just be. And I tried to analyze what does that mean? Tell me the
I
steps I
did
need to
that too.
take.
Yeah, I
And
did that too. It's like this is too big of a book to learn.
it
Like I
is.
literally have a book called Just Be, and I like flipped through it. I'm like, I need a 10-step plan, man.
But these things are they're simple statements, but once you embody it, once it has become a part of you, you ask yourself, how could I? What was the difficulty? Why was it so hard for me to, just step into line and where I was supposed to be, and just you're in that flow all the time. You're not going to flow backwards. You're not. So it's exciting, it's fun, there's always something new, and every day brings a wonderful opportunity. Look at the experiences you'll see experiences as opportunities, and with unlimited potential behind each one. So it's a beautiful space. It's a consciousness change. It's changing the thought, the old programming of the worry, the shame, fear, and guilt, the root chakra issues. Those are, those are not necessary and and help. And they just drag your little boat down. It's like an anchor you're dragging as you're trying to flow down that river. So let go, another simple statement. Just be another
Yeah.
simple statement.
Yeah, we hear those like on along the journey, and we're like, we
Hmm.
don't know what that, like, we know like that there's something
You
there, but
know
it's like, but
intellectually,
how? Yeah, you're
yeah,
like, but how? And I think I love that you
yeah.
said, allow it to integrate, because it's just something that we learn as we go. Because what happened with me, and I know we're kind of going up on time now, but what happened with me is I was like, I just was in a space of wonder. It's like, well, what if I just trusted? What if I just allowed? What does alignment mean? What if I just tried to let go? What if I just let something go? I would just be in that space of wonder and curiosity of what something actually meant to me, not to the person that said it, but really, like, what does letting go mean, to
Yeah.
me? And what does trusting the process mean to me? And what would it look like to me if somebody offered that to me, like, in a bowl, here you go. Like, what does it look like? And that's how we can reflect. And then I think from those reflections is how we get into that integration.
Right. Um, and it is so funny that it is um all those simple statements, but you don't you don't know it until you've been it, you know, and you have to be it to be known spirit. It's what you're doing. It's an alchemy process again. You're taking that spiritual and you're pulling it down into that 3D. So when your body when it finally hits your body, you will look different than the people around you. You will not be worried. You will not have fear that they have. And when people start noticing that you're a little different, you know you're on the right path and you're getting to that spot of alignment. That's because that's your
Yeah.
peaceful spot. And that's why would you not be in peace? This is this can be a very peaceful journey if we allow it to be. Um, and or it can be a journey where it has an undercurrent of chaos in it. Chaos helps us grow. It's necessary. It like bores the little tunnels in the ground to allow the roots of our tree to grow. And
Mhm.
but we're growing up. We're not there, you have to get a root system in your tree as it grows up, but you know, keep in mind we're growing up. So you gotta climb out of that crib and
Yeah.
scoot across the floor and go, wow, there's all these rooms in this house to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I love that I think it was Pima Chodron who wrote a book, When Things Fall Apart. And it was one of the books that I read when my life was falling apart. But she said in that book, like the word compassion meant something different to her by the end of her experience than it did at the beginning. And I think that's just like the levels of consciousness that we talk of when we say, like letting go has meant 100 different things to me, right, over the
Yeah,
the process. And it did mean like nothing. I was like, oh, well, that's easy. How do you even do that, right? But even the words faith and trust and support and guidance and alignment and like all of these things that we label things, it's just our best way of experience, of sharing the experience, which is really why I love to, this Lightworkers Lounge. I really love it because it allows us to create the feeling of all of these things that we speak of. And I think that people feel that resonance more than they understand the words. And that's why I like to create the space, no matter how many people are here, of the the um the high vibrations, right? Because then you're like, oh, then you can start to see a little or feel or interpret a little bit of a different meaning to a simple statement that you may not have understood before. Not you,
yes.
but anybody, right?
There are all the old books, all the old ancient mystery schools, they're teaching these simple things. And they are and today we say they're just words, but what they are, they're states of consciousness. We control that. We are the ones programming our thoughts in the background. And if you can learn how to be in a frequency, you can always be in that frequency. You can always come back to that frequency because you can set it on your radio station.
Mm-hmm.
This is my happy station. This is my excited station. This is my get things done fast station. And it's bringing that elixir down. You know, it has to start as the elixir. People have to know, ooh, that feels really good. That's a good elixir. That's the frequency
Yeah.
that I want to be in.
Yeah.
And so it has to be actually shown in this. You can't tell people, you have to show people, okay? Because they have to see it for themselves. They have to feel it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you
Yeah.
said, the container here is very important because it's bringing that elixir down. And people who could watch this in the future, they can feel it just being in this space with us as we're talking, even though it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And so, how blessed are we that we have that ability to, in a 1 hour Zoom call, open that door and just flood the room with that beautiful, beautiful energy. And then our material bodies are being flooded with it, and we're trying to articulate the feelings that are going through us at this time, which are they're all such yeah, like you said, dark cannot be in that area. It just can't. There's no worries, there's no stresses, there's no
Yeah.
you can say
Yeah.
how are you to somebody and see how they actually are, because it's not, oh, this and this, and those are all 3D things.
Mm,
It's not in the space. So that's why I love
exactly.
this room so much. So
Yeah,
thank you
me
for
too.
creating it.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. And I love that you're here sharing it with me because I was getting goosebumps while you were talking because I'm like, yes, it is such it is a container and it just reminds us of our true nature, you know. It reminds us of I like that my teachers are very clear when they say, you know, we we have given ourselves permission to forget who we are, and we have given ourselves permission to get stuck in overthinking and believing our thoughts and building thought castles and moving into them and whatever we want to create. We're creators, right? And we do create from our thoughts. Whether it helps us or not is a different story. But we're in those experiences all the time, and we get to do that. And even my teachers have been really good at saying, no matter where you are, just know where you are, because that's half the battle, is not knowing that we're in a space that is, that's maybe a low vibrational space, or we're stuck in our thinking or something. Like, it's okay that you're there. Don't give you, not you, but like anybody listening, it's okay if you when we do move into that space. Even the most enlightened teachers I have ever come across go there, and it's okay. It's part of our human nature. But man, is it amazing to be reminded of our true nature, because the more and more that we're reminded of this, the easier it is to just jump up to that frequency, right? It's like, oh, because a lot of
Yeah.
the problems that
Yeah.
we create for ourselves too, right? It's like really easy to see when you're in this space, right? You sit here for an hour and then you go back to life, and like we don't really care about, like, why were we even worried about that, right? Like, why are we worried about all the things before the call, but after the call, there's like nothing to be worried about, or to be concerned about, or to think too hard about, right? So yeah, I love that it's just it's a healing space, it's a high vibrational space, it's very encompassing of um, our our collective consciousness. It's almost in celebration of the beauty that we are all one, and that there is nothing else that can survive here except love and high vibrational energy, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And you can't fake the synchronicities. Like when I said that and you were writing it down as I was
Yeah,
saying it. So,
yeah,
so you know you're
yeah.
in, so we both know we're in alignment.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly.
So,
Well, thank you so much for joining, Angelique. I always love catching up with you. And I think we do have a call. I don't think we do have a call. My calendar says July, but it's not July. It just changed itself for some reason. Um, but what is it? Thursday. So if I'll, so Thursday,
oh,
3:30.
right, right.
Yeah,
3:30. Yes.
yeah, yep,
Yep.
yep. I sent out an email.
Yep.
So,
I will be there.
um, yeah, and then I corrected the times or the dates on the Soulpreneur Cafe page. I just had October mixed up for some reason, so I fixed that. I don't know if you ever check it, but I like to tell people, like, if you do, I fixed that. But what are you up to today? What's the rest of your day look like?
Well, it is a beautiful day. I have something I have to make on Canva, so I'm gonna get my laptop out.
Yay.
I love the times where I have the ability to not be too influenced by technology. So I spend most of my time just relaxing and sitting and being at peace. Um, and I get so much work done that way. I do. So now I have to go to Canva and make it in 3D.
And
So
that gets easier though, that gets easier.
yeah.
And it's like I just treat it like a video game, like I got like a any video game that you use, if you ever played one. I don't know. My daughter had like a Nintendo DS, and I grew up with Super Mario's and Sega, and I'm sure we even had an Atari. I remember my brothers having that and, playing Duck Hunt and whatever else we played. Like, to me, if I can apply that type of fun and curiosity and wonder, because you always, did you ever play Super Mario Brothers?
I did. Oh,
Yeah, so
Zelda.
yeah, like
Um,
you always
yeah.
die. You always die that first
Hmm.
run. Like, right? We die over and over and over again, but we keep playing it and then we get a little further each time. That's what
Each
technology
time.
reminds me of.
Yeah.
Each time we get like a little
Each
bit
time it's a
further.
step.
But like we don't play
It
video
is.
games as adults, right? So we're like, we just want to know how to do it all right now. But like even when we were kids, the video game is, incremental. So technology is the same. It's like every time you learn a little bit more, a little bit more,
You
a
do.
little bit more.
And I'm not
Yeah.
what's the word? I'm not put off by using Canva. It wasn't time. I didn't have all my thoughts collected. So in that little mini purge that I did last night, because I sat out here with my notepad and pen and I was trying to articulate a program to write down and it just wouldn't come out. So now it's going to come out. It'll come out on Canva.
There you go. There you go. And
So
I think you got the soulpreneur, the starter kit too, right? I
I
think,
did, yeah.
yeah. So I know that you probably know it pretty well, but and I know that Vicky has said the same thing. She's like, I want to do the purge again, but it's in there. I don't know if you've gone through the action steps, but it
Yeah,
is in there. Okay.
that's why I said to Vicky last night, I need to do that purge again. That's what we were talking about last night.
Okay. Well, if she needs help, I don't know if she has that, but if you find it helpful,
Hmm.
if you find that video or that series in there helpful, because I know I walk you through that, then let her know because it's just easier for her to like watch it there than to do a class or something. Um,
Oh, absolutely, no problem.
but I
Yeah, that's
know that like, yeah, once we do it once or twice, it's easy, right? You're like,
yeah,
oh, I'm just gonna purge everything out. But sometimes in the beginning, if you've only done it once, it's easier to watch a video. And the intensive is just a lot, even though it's in there too. It's just
yeah,
the starter kit is just such a simpler version of like grab your flashcards, let it out,
yep.
right?
That's what
Yeah.
I'm doing this afternoon. And this morning before we got on this call, I have all my office supplies prepared for this. I have, so I saw that this morning and I'm like, well, I'll be sitting out there today with I've got my note cards and get all that situated. But I have such a beautiful view out here. I'm so happy to be out here anyway. So that's what I'll be doing in the
That's
3D while
great.
I'm doing other stuff in the 5D, pulling it down.
Hey, man, it's a dance for sure. But I love
It
the office supply
is.
thing. Yeah,
It is such a dance. That analogy came to me last night. It's like an ebb and flow dance, but
it's
a
the
beautiful
being and
process.
doing. It's
Yeah,
being because when you're being, and I have that in the starter kit too, which is why I love that thing, by the way, because I created it in like a day and then I went back and added, or maybe 2 days, I don't know, but I went back and added one vision video in there because I thought it was so important for people to have a vision.
yeah.
But I talk about the being and doing, and I'm like, man, like I used to think that it was all just doing, and then we're in the 5D and we think it's all just being, but really it is that,
It's
doing
a
and being
mixture of
is like,
both. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
it's one of the
And
reasons why I love that. Yeah.
I was gonna tell you today. I don't want to go too far over time, but I'm the other day I was thinking, oh, that's what's happening to me. I'm moving out of the feminine, the creator side of my brain, transitioning it
Mhm.
into the masculine side of the brain, which is the action side. So that's the process that I'm in right now, physically, really, and how that's being pulled down into the 3D. So that feeling of that elixir is
Mhm.
is being pulled down into the masculine side to be brought out now.
Yeah.
But it took time to percolate. It was like the stew, that was just
Hmm.
bubbling on the stove. And so it's exciting. I'm actually excited for today because I was really excited when it came to the purge. You need to do the purge. Like it came in my head last night, like a loud
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
And I went, oh my God, that's it. That's exactly what I need to do.
I've thought about a lot about, what of the intensive that I love to teach. And, if I were to just focus on one thing that I'm super confident and happy about and want to share with other people, it really is that creation phase of creating your program or the purge, like that whole thing,
Yeah.
because that in itself is like I know that there's a lot of things that will fit this bill, but that is like the perfect blend of the being and doing because you're literally getting all of these things and you're just like writing them down, right? So it's like the masculine and feminine energy,
Hmm.
the yin and the yang are like
Yeah.
finally working together because
They're
in my
finally
experience,
coming together.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like it's like the birthing unit, right?
Hmm.
At the hospital. But the other thing is like in my experience, I do go through the feminine energy and then move into the being and then I kind of shift back and forth and then sometimes it's just like rock solid. I'm right in the middle. So I'm curious what your experience will be um
Yeah,
when you're playing that.
this is a cycle that's come back around because um it's a repeat cycle of what happened when I took that class of yours. And it came around very quickly. It's only a few months later, but I have all the tools from the class, having taken the class. So now that it's come back again, the energy to I can utilize it in such a productive way. I can take it and just really, okay, now it's time for this. Now it's time for this. Now it's time for this. I have all those tools. And so I'm really excited to see what all those weeks and months of, oh, I'm just in the nebulous. That was all the time when I was just collecting information and collecting all those different elixirs. And now it's been synthesized and distilled into this tiny little droplets. And so now it's going to get pulled out. So I'm so excited for this, for today, actually, because I have high hopes and a good feeling that it's going to be a very productive day because it's
Awesome.
beautiful
Awesome.
outside. The skies are so
Yeah.
blue, so it's perfect
Yeah.
environment to do this in.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I'm curious how you're, maybe you can share later. Maybe I'll ask you, like, um, because for me now, I'll go like 2 or 3 days and I'll just get like hit with a wave of information. And then I'm like creating another thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like information, a thing. And then it's almost like this cradle, right? That just rocks back and forth. And I'm like, I'm able to
Oh, that,
keep up when had I tried to do that years ago, I would have been like, ah, right. Like, I don't
yeah,
even know
it
what's happening. Like, yeah.
years ago I wouldn't have been calm and peaceful about this. I would have been, oh my God, I have to start
Yeah,
on this
I would have.
idea. I have to start on that. But no, that was just gathering all the ingredients. Now I had the wisdom to just gather all the ingredients and that's such a cute analogy of the rocking of the cradle because that's what it is. You're merging those two masculine and feminine powerful energies together. So think of it like two tidal waves coming together, and now it's coming into balance.
Yeah, yeah. And exactly. And the interesting thing that I see happening is that the rocking is getting not at, it was swinging from way over here to way over here, and now it's like, as I'm on the journey, it's almost like a different kind of alignment's happening. Like it's getting, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not
Yes,
rocking as back and
yeah,
forth. So it's
it's a
like,
yeah.
yeah. Like I'm
The
seeing
pen,
them as separate, but they're not. Does that make sense?
right, it
Yeah.
does. And that slows that pendulum down. So you're not going from one extreme to the other
Yeah.
because you're more of a balanced 0 point because you're walking in alignment. So that's not said for you. That's said for people who are listening. And so yes, as you move forward on the journey, these massive cataclysmic energy combinations that are hugely alchemical, it's not disruptive. It's actually very um it's a very natural flow, and it's very exciting. That's why I'm so excited about this because this is a lot of energy. And a few months ago, a few years ago, it would have been maddening. I would not have known how to extract it correctly. That's the best way to describe it. Because there's a process, you know, and a timing and a but now again, a little further along on the journey, you're in faith and trust and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna that's an important time to be in faith and trust.
Yeah. Now is better than, yeah, any time in existence, I think, is now,
Yes,
right? Just
absolutely.
trust fall, go all in, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we're
you're
all
taken care
bringing
of.
such important things in, and so that's in our soul contract. Now's the time to do what we came here to do. So,
Yeah. Man, we're going to have to do a podcast episode about that because I see so many people. I feel like I just want to shake them like, grr, but it's not my job, right? And also, I know that they have guidance and I know that they have support, but they're holding back. And I just, and, you know, they're exactly where they're meant to be. But and strangely, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So I'm also learning how to throw the rope, right, in a different way,
mhm.
um, which is fascinating to me as to what people are responding to. But I do feel like so there's just a collective of people that are just like two steps. Like I want them to be here, and obviously
Yeah,
that's not. I don't get what I want. Um, but they're not, and they're just like they're like walking through the water still, and I kind of want them to
right.
take two steps on higher ground so they can reach the rope. So that's what
Well,
I'm seeing now, which is really interesting because what I've noticed in the past is people are just barely behind me, right? And I'm always trying to like stay ahead of them. Now I'm like seeing where they are, and I have all this time to right to uh to better prepare myself to help them, but while they're kind of waiting around here too. But that's what I'm seeing. But I agree with you. Like now is the time. Like I don't feel like we get the luxury of waiting anymore. You know,
no,
at least I don't.
I don't. I'm 49. So I am blessed to be at a place in my personal journey that a lot of people um would take a lot longer to get to. But I've also seen people that are very young that, wow, if I was that age and you have 60 good years ahead of you, think of the change you can facilitate in that time. Um, so there's that push for me because I only have so much,
Mhm.
you know, time here.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I wanted to speak real quickly on the shaking of people. I've done that. I've done that to people. Like, wake up, wake up, wake up.
it
It,
doesn't work.
but it doesn't work. It's just shock value, and all that happens is their eyes dilate. They get pie-eyed, and it's just too much
It makes
information
us
for
feel
them.
better though. Yeah, it makes us feel better. It makes us feel like we did something. But yeah, I definitely can see how that's a sign to just like keep working on what we're working on while they are
Yeah,
learning to
that's always the end
get to,
result.
yeah.
You
Hmm.
have to just walk away, and you have to do because again, they have to just see. Um, well, you don't have that problem. No, I don't have that problem because I shook you last week and told you what the problem was.
Yeah.
So they have to see through your actions. And that's why it's so important for light workers to shine their lights as brightly as they can. And it will put a spotlight on you. You will be different, but you're different in a good way because you lack um, the tentacles that are coming up and binding you here.
Yeah.
That other people need to be shaken. They just need a good shaking, and they'll break off. But they have to be ready for that. I've
Yeah.
like I said, I've told people things and shown them things that they weren't ready for, and that just made them close their eyes and put their fingers in their ears and shake their heads and go, no, 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 I don't want to hear it right now, because maybe it wasn't in their soul contract to
Yeah.
expand beyond the point that they're at. And it's
Yeah.
hard when you care about
Well,
everybody and you want them to be the best potential that they can actually be, rather or actually ease their suffering because it's self-induced.
it is. It is. And one of the things it is, and that's part of why it's challenging, but I do also see that, like what you said earlier, it's that's building some of their character. But the other thing is, like, I'm just so eager. I'm like ready and I'm waiting with the elixir, right? And I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
just waiting for you guys. And I think it's not even really my impatience. It's just my eagerness of it that assisting people, it allows me to express my energy. And so instead of me finding like random ways to express my energy or inconsistent ways to express my energy, I almost want them to be ready so that I can say, the floodgates are opening. But I also know that where they're at is building their character, whether they're suffering or not. And I think that's really what I keep reminding myself is they are exactly where they are meant to be, even though I want to shake them and I wish I could just be like, here, drink this. But at the end of the day, um, wherever they're at, whatever they're doing, it is the moment that they need to be in order to pick up that piece of gold that they're putting in their
Hmm.
pocket for the next thing. So I don't even want to say it's like an impatience thing on my part. It's just more like I'm just so excited for them to step up to the forefront and just say, okay, I'm ready. But that's one of the reasons why I'm posting so much on the internet is because I know that a lot of people are ready and I know that a lot of people aren't. And just by me doing that, it's going to attract the people that are ready and the people that aren't will learn something. So that's why I always just say when it comes to the TikTok challenge and everything, just like put yourself out there because you never know. Like we can't even, if we're not doing anything, besides like sitting behind the screen, right? Or not like I'm not talking about like the computer screen, but like a privacy screen. Like if we're not doing anything but sitting behind a privacy screen, nobody can find us and nobody's hearing anything, right? So I'm like, at least by me putting out bits and pieces of content everywhere as much as I can, it's bound to do something. And that's all I can do while I wait, right? In my excitement. So that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to do the TikTok challenge is because I'm seeing people have a desire to do something and not even really know which direction to put their first foot, right? So
Yes.
that's what that's for. Um, so yeah, I feel like there's a lot of value in that. Just people getting themselves out there is a big. They're doing that challenge will help people do that in a way that they've never done it before, which is, everything I do, I try to make it growth and impact oriented, right? So I'm excited for the people that do it. If they actually do all 10 days, start to finish, there'll be a different person at the end. Like you said in the with the intensive, you'll be a different person at the end of this. It's the same thing, right? Because we are taking that
It is.
masculine and feminine energy
Hmm.
and we're just making a baby and seeing what grows. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Uh, you're right, as you always are. I will. I will. I will look at the TikTok challenge. You have my word, and I
Well,
will
I say if
participate in
you,
it
yeah,
because it's only going to make me grow. And okay, I'll do it. Now
Well,
I've
you'll
given
know
you
when
my
you're
word.
ready, right? Yeah, you'll know when you're ready. But the thing is I'll do it too. You'll see an announcement come out in a week or two. I'm not really quite sure of where I'm just gonna say let's all do it together. The reason I didn't start that is because I was still creating it, right? Like everybody was just a few days ahead of me. So I was like, hey, you guys are on day whatever. I don't even know, but now I want to do it with everybody. Like I created it and now I want to do it and have a hopefully have like a community feel around it. But I just don't know how many of my TikTok followers are going to jump on that bandwagon too. We'll see what kind of people are on there. If they're ready, right? If they're ready, they will. But I know Robert's like, I'll do it. And I'm sure that there's a couple other people that need that consistent, like, let's do it as a group
Hmm.
instead of, because you can't, it's designed to where anybody can just start it right now and just take the 10 days. But if you want support and guidance, and to do it with like a family of support, then that'll come out in the next week or two.
Oh,
So you
okay.
might want to take advantage of that. That's
I
totally
will,
up to you. But
definitely. No, I will. Let me do this first. And that timing works out absolutely divinely. I was gonna say before you started talking, I was gonna say give me a week or two.
ah,
I'm serious.
there you go.
So if it's coming out in a week or two, I will be on board with that. Let me just
Yep.
finish
Yeah.
this project and then I'll hop onto that project. And
Yeah.
oh, so much growth and change.
I know. It's so good. I see
It
like
is.
all these branches just growing, right?
It is. The
Yeah, it's
leaves are
amazing.
pushing their way out.
And flowers are blooming.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, Angelique. Well, I'll let you get on your project and I'll message you after this video here. So
Thank
have fun
you.
today. Yeah,
I
have
will. I'm
fun.
very excited. Thank you.
I'm gonna go hop outside since you say it's so pretty. I'm gonna go look at the sky because it's not raining here right now, but I bet you it's crisp. So I'm gonna go take advantage of it too.
Okay.
All
Talk
right.
soon. Bye
Yep.
bye.
Talk soon. Bye.